Both of those numbers are in your written guide. One is a direct line, and one is an indirect line. Requires that you press 8 after you dial the number. Call center hours are also in your training guide. Fairly extensive hours, especially during the summer. It comes out to be about 14 hours a day, at least, that we have people answering calls. 6 days a week, sometimes 7. The sales rep reads the order form information to the CSR, who enters it into, as a new account, into a web-based service called SatTrax, which creates the new account for the customer. The CSR runs the claim through SatTrax that then connects to DirecTV's online portal. In other words, we qualify the customer by running that DirecTV claim through SatTrax. The CSR then informs the sales rep that the customer either, quote, qualifies or, quote, does not qualify for the no-fee required DirecTV promotional offer. All right, moving on to step 3, customer verification. Now, after being informed that the customer qualifies, the sales rep hands the phone to the customer. The CSR then verifies the customer's understanding of important elements of the sale using a prepared script. Some of the topics covered by the CSR include correct personal information, account holder resides at the home where the satellite TV is to be installed, and number of TVs, equipment configuration, programming packages ordered, etc. Also, customer understands that DirecTV and Dish Network are separate companies. We also ask the customer what their favorite channels are, just to make sure that their channels, their important channels, are included in the ordered package. The objective there being that to flag the channels that the customer essentially would cancel over if they don't get those channels. We tell them about the term commitment again. We tell them what their monthly price is going to be, what their promotional rate for 12 months is going to be, and the amount payable at the before activation, if any. And then finally, we also inform them about their installation date and time. The purpose of the verification by the CSR is very simple. It's to ensure full disclosure to the customer. We, at all costs, want to make sure that the customer understands all of their obligations and benefits of the transaction. The one thing to be avoided at all costs is the possibility of an early cancellation. And the worst sort of early cancellation is someone who cancels a day, 2 days after the activation. That is typically indicative of a problem in the disclosures to the customer. We created false or incorrect expectations that were not satisfied or not met after the service was activated. So we want to avoid that at all costs. And we do that through full and complete disclosure to the customer. So one of the main reasons we want to make sure that they know what they're getting into is because the customer is going to sign 2 binding agreements at the activation. One agreement will be with American Satellite, and that will concern the free equipment and installation, and then they will sign a second agreement with DirecTV concerning programming. Further to that, or those contracts, there are separate penalties for early cancellation. Penalty fees assessed both by DirecTV and American Satellite. And a final note about the verification, CSRs will not schedule a customer for installation until after the verification is completed. Let me say that again. The CSR will not schedule a customer for installation until after verification is completed. So this is yet another reason why we recommend that the CSR and ask that the sales rep call the main office and run the claim from the customer's home, because we're able to expedite getting the account qualified and on the schedule. In other words, the sales rep will simply hand the phone to the customer. We conduct the verification on the spot, and we can immediately schedule it and typically get that customer installed next day. Okay, step 4 is the installation. Whenever possible, ASE sends an email to the customer, the prospective customer, regarding pre-installation order verification, and then we also send an email regarding post-installation, dealing with customer satisfaction issues. Additionally, 24 hours before the installation date, ASE delivers a recorded phone message reminding the customer of the scheduled install date. Now, it's important to note that installations are scheduled according to 2 time blocks, 8 a.m. to 12 p.m., in other words, a.m., or 12 p.m. to 4 p.m., which is referred to as p.m. They're during the summer only, and subject to limited availability. There is a 3rd time block that can become available by special request between 4 p.m. and 8 a.m. The reason it's subject to certain restrictions is because many technicians don't want to work until late at night, having gotten up very early in the morning. But there are some technicians who will do that, but we just have to limit the number of 4 to 8 installations as much as possible. It does happen that people work and they simply can't schedule it at any time during the day, and so we do try and accommodate them, but we just have to keep a lid on that to a certain degree. Also important to note when scheduling that the installer may arrive any time within the assigned time block of AM or PM. Never tell a customer that the installer will arrive at a specific time. If you do that, then we are setting ourselves up for a fall, because technicians typically do not arrive at specific times. There are too many things that can come up in an installation that would delay them in getting to their next install, or traffic, or just all the various reasons why he might be delayed. And so that's why we schedule according to time blocks, and you need to tell your customers that the installer can arrive anytime during that time block. In other words, if this customer is scheduled from 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. and the technician gets there at 11:50 a.m., he is still technically not late. So it's very important in creating the right expectations that will get the customer an understanding about how this process works, that we inform them that the customer can arrive anytime within the time block. The customer, or rather the installer, performs the installation of the satellite TV system, and in connection with the installation, as we discussed earlier, performs customer education. Installer then has the customer sign both the ASE and the DirecTV agreements, leaves one copy of each with the customer, collects any money due, and departs. All right, let's say a few words about SatTrax. SatTrax is a web-based satellite TV customer manager tool. It is used to process and schedule customer orders. It is also used to generate commissions. Really, in short, we use SatTrax to manage the satellite sales that we have with DirecTV. Literally, SatTrax is something we use from the beginning, the earliest beginning of that transaction to the back end. It's just an indispensable tool for us, and you'll become very familiar with SatTrax the more that you sell with us. So further to that, we've got the site address in your written guide and on your screen here. All sales reps will have and do have access to their own claims on SatTrax, and the username for that initial username and password is the first initial of the sales rep in capped letters or capped letter, and lowercase last name, and then number 1 on the end. It's recommended that when you first get into SatTrax that you change your password, but this is how we begin it. To ensure the quality of the sale, We have provided what we term a sales rep checklist. All sales reps are encouraged to use this checklist. And let's bring it up on your screen, the top part. I'm not going to go through each one of the items, but you'll see that it's a fairly comprehensive list of things that you will want to cover with your customers, just to ensure that there's proper disclosure, full disclosure on all the material parts of the transaction. And we flip to the bottom part of the page, and pretty much this covers everything that you need to discuss with a customer. Certainly, if you were a beginning sales rep, you will want to use this checklist so that you can ensure that you've covered all the bases that you need to cover with the customer. And that's everything for Section 14. Please proceed on to Section 15, Ethics.